I think we're live now. I think it's live.
It says live for me.
Yep, says live for me as well. All right, man. So we're just gonna get started here. Very vaguely. Matt, I didn't catch your last name. I think it's a J, right?
Yeah, man. Matt Johnson. Nice to
Matt,
nice to officially meet you.
nice to officially meet you, man. It's funny because I thought Johnson off the bat. I said it must be Matt Johnson. That kind of flows, but I didn't want to insinuate there. But so, dude, let's just go ahead and get started. You do a lot of weddings, a lot of weddings. I really enjoyed actually. I think it was before I bought my FS5. I actually checked out your video on the FS5 and I really dug it. I dug that, all the information you gave on it, and the beard. The beard is something that I was like, man, I don't know what I was staring at more, either the camera or your beard. The thing is like so majestic. What kind of comments do you get on that thing, man?
I would say that the majority of my YouTube comments and video comments in general are either related to like something camera related. Like some of them are related to the video, half of them are related to like the beard, and it's quite polarizing. Like it's either like people like that are like it's great, never shave, or people that are like you need to shave right now. I had one guy. I did one of my favorite comments actually was from it happened a few weeks ago, but I posted a video about like how to build a video editing computer to my YouTube channel, and this guy commented saying, "I never knew that the Amish knew how to build computers," and I was like, "Yes, the beard has made it. This is awesome." So pretty ridiculous.
That's awesome, dude. And so what's the consensus? How many more people want you to shave it, and how many are you even close to considering to shave it, or are you gonna just keep it and let it brand yourself? I mean, you should make your logo like your head, like that should be it with the beard going down.
I've thought about that. The issue is, and this is what I run into with like any sort of like profile picture things, etc., is that like if I don't have like a relatively recent profile picture, I'm going to look a little different because I have photos from like a year or two ago, but like the beard's really short. So it's like it's been growing. And so like people like freak out whenever they see me.
It's definitely longer from the first video that I saw you on.
Yeah. So I have to be careful too, like with clients, because like for weddings, I don't want like I want to make sure the wedding couple knows like, hey, this is what you're getting for your video. It's not short bearded Matt. You're getting like semi-homeless bearded Matt. Like, hey, what's up? Don't freak out.
Have you ever had any issues in that sense? Like having clients tell you
no, we like it generally at that point, like we already know the couple pretty well. Like we've already talked to them on the phone. We've already like ideally like met with them in person way before the wedding day.
Okay.
So like they already know who we are, what we look like.
Okay.
Plus, I feel like that's kind of discriminatory. They can't be like, in like today's culture, you can't be like, well, I'm sorry, but you're too ugly to be here. You're like, oh crap, like like nobody's got to do that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you're pretty safe.
That's cool. So let's take it back a little bit. Let's take it back to how you first picked up a camera and decided this is what I want to do.
Oh man, dude, I've got like stinging. Like back at my parents' house, we're going down for Thanksgiving. If I go and dig through like the old VHS tapes that my parents have, like I've got videos of me like directing Star Wars lightsaber battles at like 8 years old, just
Really?
like screaming at my mother, like, stop recording. The camera's not right. We have to film the lightsaber, just like super diva at like 8 years old, wanting to direct filmmaking and stuff like that. So like that started it. But then I don't know. I started doing YouTube videos in 2006. My parents bought me like a little Sony point and shoot camera.
Okay.
No zooming capability, recorded for, I believe, 12 minutes total. Like it was just the most ghetto thing. And I just tried to make it work. And this is like pre-smartphones. So
okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but ridiculous.
That's funny, dude. And when did you start, like, when did you decide this is what I want to do for a living? Like, I want to make money doing this. Did you have any jobs before?
Right. So like I started filming stuff like in college.
Oh, okay.
And so it's funny because my senior year, and I stayed on to get my master's, so I stayed on a few extra years after that. But
Nice.
my senior year, it was 2010, and one of the girls in one of my college classes was like, "Hey, do you want to film my wedding?" And I was like, sure, okay. I feel like that's how most people like get their start filming weddings. Like some friend or somebody that they know is randomly like, "Hey, you want to do this for free or like for cheap?" And you're like, "Yeah, okay." I don't. It's like with the caveat that I have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, "Sure,
Yeah.
would love to. Let's do it." So that kind of launched me into that, and it wasn't until I was nearly graduated in 2000, in like the end of 2011, that I was like, "Oh my gosh, I could actually do this. Like, this could be full time for me. I don't actually have to get a real job. This would be awesome." So
Oh man.
yeah, one of my friends, Alex, put it this way. He said, he's a wedding photographer, but he was like, "Dude, if I can just keep this con going for like the next like 30 years and have nobody figure out that I'm not like a real employee or like get a real job, I'm gonna be so set." And worked out pretty well.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So you just jumped right into it. Like, did you explore different avenues besides weddings?
Oh
Like,
gosh,
did you do corporates? Did you do narratives, stuff like
totally,
that? Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I did. So I feel like up until, and even now to this day, like I still do a variety of stuff.
Mm.
Um, but up until, oh man, like even a few years ago, I was pretty like jack of all trades. Like, sure, I'll
Yeah.
film this, whatever. Like, you need a promo done, great, awesome. Like, just it was. I feel like anybody starting out is literally like any job possible that comes across. You're like, there's money involved, great, yeah, I'll film it, great, let's
Yeah.
do it. And so I think that what's interesting is that you'll learn very quickly, like what you enjoy doing
Oh
versus
yeah.
what you don't want to do, which is one thing. It's funny. I talk to people a lot who are like, "Oh man, I want to get into wedding filmmaking," and I tell them like, "Okay, great, but before you go out and spend all this money on gear, like rent gear and shoot your first wedding because you may end up hating it.
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't want to see you spend a ton of money and waste it. So
Yep.
otherwise, yeah,
That's a really good point. And I think everybody that starts video anything, business wise, they're just going to accept anything that comes their way. Certainly how I started, and certainly how pretty much everyone that I know started doing that whole stuff. So uh, talk to me a little bit about your process. Like, let's say you get a client, right?
hmm
What is the first step? They're interested in making a video. I mean, they're interested in hiring you and your crew
yeah.
to shoot their wedding, to cover that. What is your first step?
Yeah. So things have kind of shifted a little bit for us in
Okay.
how we do things, because for us, where we're at our current point, I've been filming weddings for nearly 8 years now.
Okay.
So we at this point, and this is why I tell a lot of people, like you kind of begin to figure out what kind of weddings that you want to do. It's the same thing for corporate gigs too, and other things like that, where once you have done enough of them, you
Mm,
kind of begin to know like what kind of clients that you want and what
yeah.
you're interested in, and you can begin to specialize a lot more. So maybe for you, maybe you don't want to make like all the time that people are like, "Oh man, I want you to make such and such corporate video," but you're like, "Oh crap, I can't like I don't really enjoy making just talking head videos. I want to do more documentary style,
Yeah.
showing more people's lives." So for us filming weddings, it's the same way, because weddings are, granted, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, there's a ceremony, people get married, there's a reception, usually a big party,"
That's
but
certainly how I do it.
but there's a big variety of the kind of weddings that you can film. So like, do you want to film big weddings? Do you want to film small weddings? Do you want to film outdoor weddings? Do you want to film weddings at indoors in a wedding venue? Like, it's a huge variety of options. For you, maybe it's like, do you want to film beach weddings in Miami? Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
like I'm like 6 hours away from the beach for me. So like I can't really do as many
Yeah.
beach weddings. Um so a lot of our work has been like drilling down and finding like the more specific kind of couples that we want to film. And for us, a lot of it comes down to, is the couple willing to be open with us? Like, are they willing to share their story with us? Are they willing to write letters to each other? Are they planning on writing their own vows? Are they willing to like have like an open heart that we can then film and document well? And so we actually like have like red flags that we watch out for, like in the first initial email. And
Okay.
if they reach out to us and say like, oh, hey, if it's very like basic, we're getting married. What is your cheapest package? Like that's, you know, we're probably not who they're going to want to end up hiring because that's not what we do.
Yeah.
Um, so we're being very selective now, I guess you could say, in terms of who
That's a good perk to have at this point in, you know, your career. I think a lot of, once you've been in the game for a while, you start seeing you can narrow down the amount of clients. It starts becoming more quality clients over quantity of clients, right?
Definitely,
That's
definitely.
awesome. And it's a good problem to have, I think, in what we do. So that's awesome that you get to pick. Honestly, I didn't, as I told you, I don't do weddings. I help friends out is what I do. You know, I just give it again, when I put it this way, when I do a wedding and there's a photographer that they usually pay, I'm not getting paid. I'm doing my friend a favor. I get out of the photographer's way because they're the ones that are being paid. But even then, I do want to capture some nice shots for them. And I basically just follow the photographer because they usually know where to go, where to stand.
Usually.
Yeah, usually. And I just try to get out of their way. Sometimes you know, the videographer in me just takes over and I just go everywhere. But it's really, they're usually the ones that I guess know what they're doing. But
yeah,
with what you're doing, I mean, you already at this point, you already know this is almost like a routine for you, or is it always different still? Like, I feel in my opinion, this is how I guess I have no idea what goes on in this stuff because again, I don't specialize in this, but is it always the same? I think it is. It seems like it is, but yes, please dive into that.
Yeah,
school in that sense for sure.
Totally. It's very interesting because, and I was actually discussing with my friend Kaylin from White and Reverie. They're like really awesome wedding videography team out of Colorado.
Cool.
And I was talking to him about this exact topic a few weeks ago because what's weird about video, especially wedding video, is that it's all kind of the same, like in terms of like you're saying the overall, like I said, like people are going to be married, there's going to be a kiss, they're going to put on some makeup and a dress, well one of them you know, like one of them will usually, and then there will be like a reception party and then they're gone. And so it's like how creative can you get with this? How different is it really going to be? And so one of the things that I have to deal with, and I feel like everybody that has to deal with once you've been doing it for years and years, is you get good at it, but you're also saying, how can I continue to grow myself creatively and continue to push myself forward? And so I feel like for a while there for me, it was like, I need to buy new gear. And it was always like, oh man, I can just put this new drone in and now the new video is totally different. Cause I feel like you're like me. I see the amount of Pelican cases you have like in your room behind you. Like I'm the same way. Like I have so much gear.
I'm such a gearhead. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. That's why I make like 50-minute long camera reviews because I have a problem. But what's interesting is that I learned this from this guy Patrick at Still Motion. I was talking to him once, very talented guy, and he was telling me how like weddings are gonna burn you out, like if you are just focusing on the event or on the gear, because it's just the same thing. But like a lot of the focus that and like the growth and like the reason you're gonna want to continue doing it is the people. And because people are infinitely interesting, people are infinitely unique. And so if you can really get in and get to know your couples and get to know, like this applies for documentary work or any sort of corporate work too. Like if you can get to know your client really well and generate a trust with them where they say, we trust you to be creative and do whatever you want, and we will be very open with you in that, your videos are going to continue to be exciting and interesting. Even if it's the same event, it is different people. And so that can be very, very interesting. Like, I'll say this, the wedding, we shot two weddings, last week, which was more than what we normally do. But the second wedding we shot, was for this couple, Caitlin and Tanner. And I actually just uploaded their video to my YouTube channel. And we do like a little like 1 minute long teaser. And the whole focus of this 1 minute long teaser was leading up to their first look whenever they see each other for the first time, because they had all these incredible letters that we had audio from playing in the background. But whenever they saw each other, I have never seen a groom like lose it that much, like ugly crying whenever he saw her. It was, oh man, like not just like a little like, oh, I'm happy to see you, but like you can't even breathe. Like, is he having an asthma attack right now? Like this level, like literally of just like snot and tears and crying.
Oh
and, like,
man.
she's like, you know, and she's crying, but like it's just this emotional reaction. Like so even though I've shot like, oh gosh, hundreds of weddings at this point, I have never seen that level of insanity of just
Oh
like losing,
man.
which super powerful moment to capture, you know? And like, as a filmmaker, that's what I think that we all want, regardless of what it is. Like, oh man, this is awesome. Like tears start to roll. You're just bringing the camera in closer. Like there's such like a voyeuristic, like you can understand why, like, you know, the filmmakers for Keeping Up with the Kardashians or any of the reality TV, you know, there's drama going on. They're like all up in it. Like, this is crazy. Like I need to film this. Like same thing for weddings, like anything going on at the wedding. I'm like, what's going on over here? You guys doing something? Like, oh my gosh, crazy.
Dude, that is so funny. Do they get emotional? Like you said, this guy was bawling. Do they enjoy watching themselves like that? Like, I don't know, when they watch it, do they cry or do they get embarrassed? Or
so
well, that specific one actually. How did they react when they saw themselves?
They absolutely loved it, actually.
Oh wow.
They were like, it's so perfect, we love it. I can pull up their emails and see exactly what they said. Rachel was my wife Rachel was reading me like their email from them. So like what's cool about it, like I said, a lot of it comes back to us being like friends with the couple and really knowing them well. So like for them in that moment, it wasn't, oh, we're having an awkward moment because the cameras are on us, but oh, our friends Matt and Rachel are here filming us too, so we're all getting to experience this moment together. Like Rachel was crying while they were crying. Like we were all like tearing up a little bit. Like, this is so emotional. Oh my gosh. So like it all kind of
so
goes
good
together.
That's so good. That's awesome. And talk to me a little bit about your crew. Like, how many people do you have? What jobs do you delegate? Like, how does that go?
Yeah. So for the longest time, it was literally just me. So it'd be like, you're getting Matt Johnson. Hey, what's up? I'm here to film your wedding, you know?
Yeah.
And then after about a year and a half of doing that, I realized I really need to start hiring people like to help me out, because especially for weddings, I feel like they really benefit being like a one-time thing. Like I feel like with corporate work, you can cut, okay, let's redo this shot here with a different angle, different camera, different lens. It's fine. Weddings, you can't be like, can we redo the ceremony so I can get another angle? So you have to like really work on bringing in a second angle to film things. So I've had tons of second shooters over the years. Usually it's just me and one other person, because once you bring like a third person, things start to get really kind of crowded, because then you have photographers. I had a wedding once where I was third shooting. I was asked to help out. So it was a bigger wedding, but the couple hired 4 photographers. Wow. So there was 7 people running around. It was insane.
Damn.
So smaller, lighter footprint, always appreciated. I actually, my first full-time employee is actually my wife, who is like absolutely awesome. She was
always cheaper.
Yeah. I made this joke in another podcast. I said that it's great because you don't like hire your spouse because you don't have to pay them. But like to clarify, like Rachel is awesome. She was a teacher and doing an amazing job at that. And then work was getting so busy for me. I was like, please help me. So she said, okay, I will quit teaching and help you full time. And so she handles a lot of like my business emails. I think she replied to your initial email to me, like, you want to be on my podcast? I was like, tell him yes. Thank you. Okay, great. So because like I'm editing all the time. So like generally like delegation of work, like Rachel comes with me to shoot, and then Rachel does a lot of like my pre-rough editing. And then I go in and like craft the story for a wedding film.
That's good.
And then fine tune it from there.
Yeah, it's getting that busy over here on my end as well, where I think I'm going to have to get some sort of full-time editor, you know, to just start get the timeline going, get things already settled, and I'll come in and just clean it all up. But that's, you know, scan the interview for the key points and whatnot. And it's just, it is getting to that point though. So
Totally,
but,
totally.
yeah, you definitely need a lot of help. And I've heard that for weddings, yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you're capturing everything. And also, you know, obviously you can't be capturing the bride getting ready and the groom getting ready at the same time. One time, it was actually quite convenient. Again, it was one of those favors I was doing. And they just happened to be in the hotel rooms next to each other with the connecting door. So I was actually just going back and forth and doing that, but that's just a coincidence.
That helps out a lot though.
No, for sure. I can imagine. But that's usually not the case. That's usually, at least for me, it was the one and only time that's ever happened. So, all right. So let's talk about the ceremony real quick. Let's talk about, I guess, what is it that you try to capture? How do you capture it? And also, microphones, audio, do you use lavs? Do you go into the mixer? How do you approach that?
I would say that by far the most gear that I own is probably audio gear, because you can understand, like, audio is the most important part of the video. And so you have to, like, it's the least glamorous, but like the most important.
Yeah.
So
speaking of which, on a super side note, I just messed up. I had hired, sorry to cut you off, man.
No, you're good.
Just, I guess, to reiterate what you just said, I totally screwed the pooch on this one project where I hired a friend of mine, you know, handle the audio, and the guy did not know that audio channel 2 was off the entire interview. You know, he had the headphones. I delegated all that to him, and now the client's asking what I should do. Like, obviously the client wants to pay me less, and understandable. It's my fault, but audio is huge. Audio is crazy huge. But sorry, go ahead. I just need
I feel like we've all had moments like that where you're doing something like, and you have like a Zoom H4n or something like that, and you press it once and it like starts the pre-recording, but it doesn't actually start recording.
You think it's recording because you could hear it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Been there, done that.
Tell me. Oh man.
Yep. Horrible.
Come on, Zoom.
So I, especially like for weddings, I am a huge fan of multiple sources of audio, multiple backups for things, because you're not gonna, like, it's a one-time thing, you know, like if you don't get the audio for it, sorry, too bad. You can't like necessarily redo it.
Exactly.
And so I've been using those, I don't know if you've used them yet, the little Tascam DR10L.
I've heard of those all the time.
Yeah, I have. Hold on. There's one right over here actually on my desk, because I use
I get it.
All my videos and junk. There's cords dangling. So like this is literally like tiny little baby recorder, but absolutely fantastic. Clips onto the belt. It records dual 2 recordings, so it records one at it'll auto level, so it'll record once at like -3 dB, so it like goes right. It has a limiter, so it won't peak. But then it also records a separate -12 dB backup track. So
it has a stereo. It records in 2 separate channels.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And no, it's actually like 2 fully separate tracks. So it's like a regular track.
Right, 2 channels.
2 separate files though like in the
Got it.
On it. Screw in mic mounts, so you don't have to worry about this. These are like built for weddings, I feel, because it's like they can't pull it out unless they really try. All of the buttons are inaccessible, like nothing works unless you do the very recessed slide to turn on and slide to record button. So these things are absolutely gold for
how much is, and that's not a transmitter, right? That's a recorder.
Correct. Fully
so you record it, set it and forget it.
Yeah, records to a micro SD card. Like, it's absolutely fantastic. How
much does that go for?
$200.
Okay.
With the lav included. So
considering what you get out of it, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It runs on 1 AAA battery, runs for like 3 hours, I would say, 3 or 4 hours on a charge. So
do you wish that would be more?
Honestly, like,
or is that enough?
Well, if you have a 3-hour wedding ceremony, you got other problems that you're going to be dealing with at that point.
Oh, okay. You only use it for the ceremony. You take it off for the reception.
Yeah, I'm not usually recording like the whole day with labs on people, because that's kind of unnecessary.
Okay.
So I have two of those though, and two of these recorders, and I also have a Zoom H4n and other audio things. But like in general, I'll put Tascam recorder on the Groom. I'll put a Tascam recorder on the Efficient. And then it's always easier to mic the Groom because there's like a tuxedo involved. You don't have to deal with like a wedding dress. That can be a pain.
Oh my God.
Um,
Have you ever mic'd the bride?
I have not actually. I know
Okay.
people that have. They make like there are like garter belt attachments that hold recorders, and then you're like running the mic up the dress, and all, like it's totally doable. But it's like every single dress is different, and you're just it's gonna, dude. It can get crazy. They do make these in white though, from what I've seen. So
nice.
if you want to, you could do it. But yeah, I usually have I usually have two recorders on the Groom because I prioritize his vows and like the bride's vows, and so the audio will pick up from the bride because they're always standing like 2 feet apart whenever they're doing that.
So how do you position the microphones to, I guess, optimally pick up the bride?
So I usually have one because I'm doing 2 mics on the Groom. I'll usually put one up higher, closer to his mouth, and then I'll do one a little bit lower because usually the bride will be a little bit shorter than the Groom.
Okay.
So I kind of work on the height there. And like one of the mics is outside of the jacket, so it's clipped onto the lapel. So that'll get a lot of better surrounding audio. The other one is under the jacket in the event that it is like really windy out or something like that. If it's an outdoor ceremony, it can be really windy. So like the inner mic will be protected from the wind, and that has saved me so many times where it's been like a windy ceremony. So I still have clean audio that totally works. And that's
awesome.
Been very good.
So that's the audio that you get directly from the Groom. Is that, you said you have another way of picking up audio?
So generally weddings also have a sound system of some sort that they're running. Usually, sometimes I feel like you go to like someplace, they're like, oh, nobody ever plugs into it. We don't know how to use it. You're like, seriously? Like the wedding we did last week, they had a rack-mounted soundboard like in a closet that nobody knew how to operate.
Really?
So yeah, it was crazy. Me and the DJ were back there like, crap, how do we do this? Like even he's like, dude, I don't even know where, like, because everything was up against the wall, so you couldn't even get to like a lot of the plugs. So that was kind of a nightmare. And it ended up that I had my recorder plugged in and it recorded no audio from the soundboard because it was like super ghetto. So to compensate, I had I actually double mic'd the Efficient and double mic'd the Groom to make sure I got everything. And they were it sounded great. So saved it. But
nice. Do you ever so first of all, we got a quick question here from Carter Harrison. He wants to know where he can see some of your work.
Yeah. So my wedding film production company is Filmstrong Productions, and that is filmstrong.com, FILMSTRONG.com. Not affiliated with Lance Armstrong, Livestrong. We do not use performance enhancing substances whenever we are filming your wedding.
That's your
disclaimer. I don't have to say that, but it's just funny to say. Yeah, and then I also do like YouTube videos and educational stuff at whoismatt.com, which is my blog, which is pretty fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, there you go, Carter. So moving back to, I guess, this audio stuff. Usually, I mean, obviously you have way more experience than I do, but usually every DJ that I've come across usually knows what they're doing, kind of. But again, I'm sure, yeah, you have
it varies.
Way more experience. So let's go ahead into the reception.
Yeah.
What do you capture there? How do you capture it? The whole 9 yards. How do you deal also at the end of the whole thing? How do you deal with the freaking low light every single time? Obviously, that's what weddings are known for. That's what weddings.
No, totally. It's an issue for sure. Okay, so as far as audio goes for the reception, the only real audio that you really have to be concerned with capturing is that initial audio whenever the couple walks in, which is always usually good, like introducing Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so.
I always crap that up. I always mess that up. Yeah. But good thing they're not paying me, so whatever. I don't care.
The only other really source of audio that you have to really worry about capturing is going to be the toasts that usually people are going to be giving. Yeah. So it'll be very, I love you, thank you, you're great. But like usually that will have a wireless mic system that is run by the DJ. So to work with that, I usually I always reach out to the DJ ahead of time. Like, I'm a huge fan of reaching out to people early. I'll send them an email like a week ahead of time. Hi, I'm working with you. Do you have this sound put on your board? I would love to plug into it. Never assume. You will get DJs that are like, no, I never let anybody plug into my board. You're like, oh, okay, great. Glad we can clarify that.
Wow, you've got DJs like that?
I've had DJs that told me like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want you to break it. And I'm like, it's a soundboard. It should be built to be plug in things. Like, what the heck, you know? No, I've dealt with that. So like, I try to take extreme steps to mitigate that by reaching out ahead of time, making sure that they're going to be okay with it, seeing what connections they have. And then in the event that they say no, which is very, very rare, but in the event they say no, then I would actually bring my own.
Find out where they live.
I would even consider find out where they live. No, that'd be, oh gosh, no. Like, I would make steps to make sure that I was either like laving up the toaster with like a separate microphone, doing whatever I can to make sure that I'm still recording good audio. Okay. Generally though, I can plug in the soundboard. As a backup though, I actually have, there's this company called My Mic Effects, and they sell these, microphone sleeves. So like elastic microphone sleeves that go around a mic, and usually they're like bedazzled, glittery. So that way, like, oh, it makes your mic look cool. If you do higher end weddings, you'll see them. But what those actually work really well for too is that they're stretchy enough that you can actually slide another voice recorder into the mic sleeve around the wireless mic. So I will actually have a standalone recorder different than the Tascam because it actually has mics on it. And so the nice thing is,
I think the Zoom has that, right?
The Zoom has it, but the issue is the Zoom is just so big.
Well,
nobody wants to carry it on. Even the H1 is still pretty big.
Oh,
like,
okay.
These are like tiny little Olympus like ones that are a third of that size.
Oh,
so
wow.
They fit really snugly up against, and the mic isn't that much bigger. But the benefit is that people are then holding the mic right in front of their mouth. And so you are getting a separate clean recording in the event that the DJ's speakers start to crackle or you start having transmission issues. Any of the 1,000 things that can go wrong that I have dealt with. It's like, oh, wait, I have my clean audio. It's awesome. So that will save your butt, man. It is totally awesome. But as long as you have those two things, you're pretty set as far as like reception goes. And then, okay, as far as like capturing video during the reception. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. In general, a lot of it's like dancing, which I think dancing actually looks better in video than in photo, because generally photo it's just like frozen movements, but like dancing is very much like movements.
Right. No, of course.
So I feel like for video it can look really good. What you mainly run into though, like you said, is the low light. Yeah. And so I actually have what?
I was gonna say, in addition, also explain when you grab slow motion, because you definitely want to get slow motion on in I guess, you know, in weddings. You want to have that option. Yeah, definitely. And so a lot of that comes down to like, do you have enough light to be able to get slow motion and things like that. So for me, two things that I always try to do. Well, first of all, I shoot with an A7S II. So low light is not really a huge issue. Like, it's like the camera is so like it's honestly my favorite camera for shooting weddings, because you don't need to have a ton of lights. I still recommend bringing lights. Always bring lights, but like in terms of the amount of lights that you will need, you don't need a 3-point lighting system on a dance floor to be like, okay, now it looks tolerable for me to be able to film with this thing here. I will on average shoot wedding receptions at 10,000 ISO, 16,000 ISO, 25,000 ISO whenever I need to, because I do prefer shooting the dancing in slow motion, which means 1/125th shutter speed. It's going to be darker. So ISO, higher ISO to compensate that. But then dance floors are also like, it's weird. Like, if you do not bring your own light, they can look incredibly flat. Like, I've been to wedding receptions and I'm like, it'd be pitch black dark. How could you see anything dancing if I did not bring a light? Yeah. So I have an RE 150 watt Fresnel that I bring, and it just blasts onto the dance floor. Dimmer attached, of course. Yeah. So like I can dim it so people aren't like freaking out, you know, like it's too bright, you know, okay, turn it down like halfway. But that flares really, really nicely and looks really, really good. And I know that it's a clean light. It's not going to be flickering. It's going to be a like 3200 Kelvin balance. It'll look really, really good. I'm planning on switching over to like LED at some point. I think I feel like LEDs are not quite there.
in terms of necessarily like power and throw matching the RE.
Right.
So that's kind of what you run into, but it's close. It's really close.
Yeah. I could see how the Aries, the Fresnels, they do flare up really, really nice. One thing I've actually taken an LED set to a friend's wedding, and I'm trying to get those nice flares and whatnot. But what happens is I start seeing all the dots.
Yeah.
I start seeing all the dots in the flares, and that's not very flattering. I'm not a big fan of that, and that's where I would say that's something that if it wasn't for that, everything else would be fine. But
Yeah.
those dotted gridded flares that I see, I'm not a big fan of that. But that's the only thing I would say against LED lights at weddings. But so I gotta ask, because I know we're gonna get a lot of these questions. How do you find well, at this point, your clients are finding you, correct?
Yeah.
But when you started, how would you go about advertising yourself? How would you market yourself?
Yeah. I actually do like one-on-one coaching and consulting for people like that. Like a lot of it's wedding filmmakers, and like without fail, the most common question, like when I started doing coaching, I had all these thoughts like, oh man, people are going to ask me like, how do I film better weddings? Like, help me be creative. No, like every single question is like, help me get clients. I want to make money, please. I don't want to be like, like, okay. So, a lot of it comes down to, and this is why I tell everybody that consults with me. A lot of it comes down to like building your brand and building your website. And so people aren't going to know that you necessarily do videos unless you have work to show them. So of course you're going to end up shooting weddings for free at the start or for cheap. I feel like that's what you do still. It's like what everybody does. It's like, hey, like you have to show that you are capable of doing it and have some work to show. So instead of just telling the couple to imagine that I made a video, like, no, you actually have to show them. So go out, film a wedding. Like if you have any friends or family members that are getting married, like just be like, I'm filming it. Like don't take no for answers. Like I'm doing it. Okay, great. And
absolutely,
like I said, that will actually tell you right there initially if you want to continue doing it, because you'll either get burned out horribly and be like, I'm never doing this, or you will enjoy it. It takes a special person to enjoy it though.
I agree.
Once
with a beard.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If you have a beard, you're guaranteed to love weddings. So
pretty much.
It's just super easy. So once you like have shot at least one wedding, then I would go out and like build a website using WordPress or Squarespace or any of the other like super simple website building companies out there. It's so easy to build a website now, but literally like have your website and be like arielsweddingvideos.com. Have your name, have the video that you've made, and then have a contact form. Super basic, but like that way at least people can see it and know, hey, this is what this person does. And then just market the snot out of that. Like put it up on Facebook, do ads on it, do like as much as you can, and you're going to start booking people, because at the lower end, they're like weddings are, I don't know, very, very common. Everybody's getting married these days. And so like
they say that every year. Everybody gets married. That's never going to stop.
Everybody's getting married. It's like, what is guaranteed? There's death, there's taxes, there's marriage. Like it's like people are gonna want to continue getting married. Everybody's like, marriage is failing, it's not working. Like, no, marriage is succeeding. Everybody's getting married now. Like more marriage is now legal than was legal before. Like more people are getting married. So like in terms of like wedding videography, this is a good time to be in business. Like,
of course,
more and more people are getting married all the time. So there's this weird like scarcity mindset some people have, like there's not enough weddings to go around. You got to compete. Don't let anybody steal your weddings. It's like, what? Like, dude, are you aware of how many people are getting married all the time? Like, it's insane. So,
and here's a good thing. Before we started recording, you mentioned something that was very interesting. You said that you're already booked up pretty much for next year. 11 weddings.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, you said that's all you want to do. So in a way, what I'm hearing from you, it's basically just how it works in any part of this same industry. Like, so for you, for a wedding, for me, for, I guess, a lot of corporate documentary style gigs, at this point, like you know, I do have a good amount of work coming in and it's flowing for you. Obviously, weddings are much more extensive and they require a lot more finesse. That's why you're limiting yourself to a certain amount. But you know, I don't accept every job that comes in. You know, there's those jobs I'll push off to the people that are still starting or something like that. Like I had a phone call yesterday. I took a phone call from courtesy at, you know, my sister had a friend that needed a video for a, a recital that they're doing, but off the bat, I'm like, all right, obviously they're not going to be able to afford you know, my rate. So I just basically helped her find somebody that can help do it because I just cannot afford to, you know, with what I have going on now, I cannot afford to take smaller work. You know, I can't put my big work aside to do that. So, and that's always going to happen. Like the weddings that you cannot afford to do because you just have much bigger fish, you obviously you're going to pass that off to either you pass it off or you just say, you know, I can help you find somebody, or, you know, I recommend this person. And there's always weddings to go around at different levels. Not everybody's going to be willing to pay your rate, and not everyone wants someone that is just starting off. Somebody wants someone that's already seasoned in that industry. And the same thing goes for when you know, like you said, the way you started, you have to make something. And I've said that in the podcast before. I started off doing corporate videos for free. Even I was offering people like, hey, let me do a video. I need something for my portfolio. You know, and yeah, I've again, I even that I experimented with weddings. There's a reason why I still don't do I'm not advertising. Matter of fact, I actually just revamped my website. I took my weddings out of there because it's just not something that I'm really trying to. I'm really starting to narrow down. Like you already have narrowed down your career. You have it narrowed down. You're very specialized in weddings, and I'm kind of more specializing in corporate documentary work and whatnot. And you know, and I guess that's my niche. That's my forte right now. You know, and I don't ever presume to know anything about weddings, dude. So that's awesome. Now, let's get into gear. Now, this is the fun stuff. This is the fun stuff. I love talking about this.
This is the part that you want to talk about.
This is the stuff that I want to talk about. Before we do that, we have a question here from Bobby. He wants to know, what do you want to see in the Sony A7S Mark III? Oh, I could answer this one right off the bat.
Can we all? We're like, oh man, so many things. Let me tell you. Like, oh my gosh.
All right. So, all right, let's make this one interesting then. If you could only have one feature improved from the A7S II to the A7S III, what would you pick? One feature.
I would.
I already have mine, and I've said it before, but go ahead.
It's tough because I feel like the GH5 came out and everybody was like, holy crap, this is a really, really awesome camera for not much money, dang it. So like, everybody's now like,
we're going to get into that too in a bit.
Oh, so everybody kind of wants the A7S III now to compete with the GH5. You know, everybody the next level. For me personally though, like what I would really be interested in would probably be 4K at 60 frames per second, just because I shoot a pretty decent amount of stuff, and not the majority of the wedding that I'm still shooting in 4K at 24 or 30 frames per second. But there's a lot of times where I switch over to 60. And so having that, so that way all my resolutions match, would be ideal for me, because I think that Sony already has like a really good 8-bit codec. I think that they're doing a really good job with that. So there's not a ton of times where I'm like, oh, I wish that I had 10-bit. Oh my gosh. You know, like, that's what I want. Like, cause like I've shot like weddings on the Blackmagic Cinema camera before in RAW. It's like, okay, this is a horrible idea. You know, like, oh crap, I just shot 400 gigs and we're not even in the ceremony yet.
The worst low light camera you could ever find.
It's so true. It's so true.
What does it top out at? 800 ISO?
If that. It's like,
oh my God.
Is the sun out? Okay, great. We can film. Don't put it up. The sun's down now. Just put it up. Fine. We're over it. So yeah, like I would say 4K 60, like,
okay.
I don't think that it necessarily has to answer every single thing that the GH5 has, but I would absolutely love if it had that feature.
Yeah, that I could see that. I understand that for sure. Shooting weddings, you definitely want to have that slow motion. By the way, do you shoot your weddings in 4K? Right?
Yeah.
Nice. And you deliver in 4K or you deliver 1080?
Yeah, I'm actually delivering in 4K now. So,
Nice.
yeah, I built myself another editing computer last year that was actually capable
Really?
of editing 4K. So,
Are you on PC?
yeah, I'm on PC. Yeah. I'm
Gotcha.
one
I
of the
was
rare people.
Yeah, I was thinking about that before I got my Mac Pro. I was thinking about, man, I was thinking I should build a PC because I know I can get crazy raw power and all that stuff. And just before I pulled the trigger, a friend of mine said he's selling his Mac Pro because
Hey.
he's changing his industry. And man, this thing was decked out with the Nvidia, the Titan X graphics
Hmm.
card, like a 12 core processor. It was just ridiculous. It was a monster. That thing was a Frankenstein of a computer. And he just gave it to me for like 2,400, and
That's awesome.
and I just jumped on that quick. That was basically what it made the choice for me. Um, so the 4K slow motion, it's always, yeah, it's great to have for weddings in slow motion. On my end, I would love to see, my one thing would be the 10-bit,
Yeah.
right? Because I like to shoot a nice flat profile. S-Log2 is usually what I usually
Hmm.
shoot. And I love to like really dive into the colors. And that's what I'm really getting into more and more now. And that's something that I like to see more. And I definitely, I really do see the difference when it comes to me and color correcting and color grading. I see how, you know, if let's say my white balance is a little off, or
Hmm.
if I'm trying to
Hmm.
fix that a little bit, 10-bit is definitely much more forgiving.
Oh yeah.
If I get that wrong in the camera, it's really hard to bring that back with 8-bit, but that's, that's the way that I shoot. That's the way that I edit. So that's what would work for me.
Yeah.
But so what else would you like to see in the A7S III?
Yeah.
I have seen a video. I don't know if you've seen this. I've been so excited. I think I'm not setting this in stone. I think I'm gonna put the pre-order as soon as it gets announced. Because I think it's gonna happen. I think
Yeah.
that the 10-bit is gonna happen at least in 24 and 30 frames per second. And that's enough for me.
I'm at the point where like if Sony announces an A7S III, like I'm just gonna pre-order two of them, I think, without even like if they just said we have an A7S III, like no specs, nothing listed, literally just like click this button and pre-order this camera, I'd be like, yep, send me two,
Because
thank you.
yeah, because you're going based off of Sony, right? Because
Yeah.
they're usually producing some really good stuff. And also now with the A7R Mark III came out, and I've seen the footage on that. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Uh, Based on that, you already know Sony's going to come out with something good. So you just want to jump on that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I definitely think I am going to put that pre-order. Uh, what I would also like to see is the that articulating screen. I saw a video of things that, like, some leaked information. It could be completely fake. It's just me. It's just me with wishful thinking. That it will have that,
Yeah.
and it just got me all excited and whatnot. Probably for no reason, because it might not have it. It might just be the same. I really wish that screen would come out and swivel. That's something I would.
I really doubt it. Just
Yeah.
looking at the history of them, like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
build a camera body and then they build the accessories. So A7, then A7R, A7S, then the new camera body, A7S2,
It's
A7R2.
probably going to be the same body as the A7R3.
Yeah, and so they did the A9 and then they did the A7R3, same body. The A7R3 is actually like slightly bigger, like just barely.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the A7S3 will be the same body.
Yeah.
But
Probably.
hey, improved battery life, I will gladly
Oh
take that. It's
yes.
gonna be huge.
I saw yesterday, last night, Philip Bloom's. Well, was it Philip? It was actually. I'm sorry. It was Philip Bloom, but it was on his stories. It wasn't in his YouTube
Mhm.
channel. He was posting about it. He was shooting all over London, and he was talking about how he was shooting for 3 hours straight
Yeah,
and counting with that one battery. That is
that's so great.
amazing.
So
That is
great.
amazing. That is probably, yeah, that is huge, especially for you. Shooting weddings where you're on the go all the time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No need for the battery grip and all that. That's really cool. So give me your thoughts on the GH5 shooting weddings. I saw your video, very informative, but
That's
from
one
what
way. That's one way to put a 50-minute video.
yeah,
Very educational. Are you
yeah.
insane? Like, yes, I am insane. Just to be clear here. It's like 50 minutes. The comments are like, didn't think I would watch the whole thing. It was actually very good, but wow. I'm like, yeah, sorry. I like.
Yeah.
You want detail? I will give you detail.
Yeah. No, here's the thing, and I know you covered this. I know you covered this, but let's get a little into it, into the low light performance. How does that thing do? Do you have to compensate with much faster lenses?
So and it's my understanding, first of all, like I don't know. I watched a ton of stuff by Tony Northrup
Okay.
on YouTube and all. I don't know if you watch him.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Tony and Chelsea, and he has like a whole big talk about how like crop sensor cameras are actually, like lenses are actually cutting down the f-stops too. So like an f2.8 lens on the GH5 is equivalent to like an f5.6 lens on full frame. So he's saying that like
Really?
so the lens is still capturing like light, but the sensor is smaller, so it's actually like less light's hitting it. 40-minute long video if you want to watch it. Very
Wow.
in-depth. But from everybody that I've talked to, they all say if you want to have something roughly equivalent to full frame, you're going to need to buy very fast lenses to help compensate with the GH5. So my friends Kaylin and Christina at White and Reverie in Colorado, they shoot on the GH5, and I know that they're shooting on Voigtlanders, which are like, it's like a 10 millimeter 0.95 lens, and then like a 25 millimeter 0.95. So it's like all the equivalent focal lengths of like 24 and 50 and 70 millimeter, like 85 millimeter, but they're all just massively faster f.95 lenses to compensate,
Right.
which helps out a lot.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, from what I understand, I know the smaller sensors like Micro Four Thirds, they usually have they're not really good with low light performance, and that would become a problem when you're shooting a wedding.
Definitely.
And that was actually my first like initial thought when I saw your video. I'm like, because you're loving all over the thing in the beginning, but I'm like, get to the low light. I definitely want to hear actually. And that was very interesting. But for sure, yeah, you have to get much faster lenses now. Shooting, okay, so shooting weddings, you're on the move. You're nonstop. You're on the go. You can't stop. So my question is, and I've seen you shoot with. I've seen you mention that you shoot with prime lenses. How do you change that? How do you move around with primes when you're very limited in zoom range?
Yeah, so I've gotten, first of all, I've gotten really good at switching lenses, so I can do it in like 10 seconds, off on next lens. And so one thing that I've discovered over years of filming weddings is a lot of getting creative like wedding shots is finding new angles to shoot things, because you're always in a new place. You're never like, it's very rare to shoot a wedding at the same venue or location. Like, oh, good, here's all my shots that I used before. You're always doing something new, filming something new. So one thing that I find is that whenever as somebody that used zoom lenses for years, I had like a 24-70 equivalent lens that I was using on my Canon 7D for years and years and years, until I actually ended up dropping it and snapping the lens in half, which was honestly probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I switched over to start shooting prime lenses significantly more, and that totally changed the way that I shoot, because I find that shooting with prime lenses, first of all, it's sharper and better in low light, of course.
Oh yeah.
But more so than that, yes, definitely. But more so than that, also like being on your feet and having a prime lens basically requires you to be walking around. So I got to get closer. I got to get further away. I need to move over here. And so by doing that, I find that I'm finding more shots that look better, usually.
That's interesting.
It's almost like a discovery, because if you have a zoom lens, you're very tempted to stand there still on your monopod and okay, here's my shot. And then it's like, oh, let me zoom in. Oh, here's my other shot. Okay, great. Got it.
You're just describing me right there. Calm down.
You're like, hey, I listen to other podcasts. You're like, I love my monopod.
Yes.
So like, but that can be a hindrance at a wedding where you need to be getting shots very quickly. Like for me, I'm usually only shooting about 5 seconds at a time per clip. Like, here's a clip. Okay, good shot. Okay, let's move around to some other place. So I'm like a little like bee just buzzing around, whoever I'm filming. But yeah.
I gotta say, so I love my my little Sony A6300 is amazing, and I love shooting with my 35 prime on that lens. And man, yeah, you're definitely right. Like, and it's so nimble that I can, and it might just be the camera, but but you know, yeah, when I have the 35 prime on there, I'm moving around a lot more. And that's actually a very interesting thing you did. Maybe my zooms has made me much more lazy when I shoot,
It's
which
weakening you.
I
No.
definitely do think that that is the case because yeah, I do. I mean, it's a friend's wedding. I do want to capture the best, but at the same time, I'm not gonna go crazy. You know, actually, at my friends' weddings, I'm usually just more of a guest than anything. But you know, I just take my camera and I just shoot around. Uh, but yeah, I can see why that's. And I've been back and forth now on my next lens purchase. I'm actually trying to pick up a couple more lenses. But I mean, I'm to me, I'm a big fan of of zooms.
The other thing,
Reason. Go ahead.
yeah, the other thing that I'll say that's really really helpful for me is with the I will say with the A7S2, A6500, and the GH5, you're getting in-body image stabilization. So any lens that you're using is now stabilized, and if you're if you're using like the Sony official branded lenses like EMAT lenses or the Panasonic lenses with built-in image stabilization, it's even better. But for me, I don't even use those. I just have like Sigma and some other lenses that I've been like putting onto my camera. And the in-body image stabilization is good enough with that I am comfortable hand holding up to about 85 millimeters on the A7S2. Like I'm not going to put a 135 millimeter on it and like hand hold it. Like that's a little much.
Yeah.
But you don't want like a 7200, like, oh, that's handheld. It's great. It's going to be shaky. But like 50 millimeter, 24 millimeter, 85 millimeter, those lenses on just handheld, like you're even quicker than you are with like a monopod. You're not even worried about like putting it down. Okay, let me make sure this is stable. Like it's just very like walk up, almost like taking photos at that point because it's handheld. And I find that like that with the prime lenses, I'm even faster roaming around, which helps out a ton.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, you're definitely giving me a whole different perspective on all that shooting because I don't.
Gear to buy. That's what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, man. I'm always down for that. I just gotta I need justification so that when I can explain it to my accountant, I'm like, hey, listen, Matt said that I need this lens, and I'm gonna buy it. So
see, I have a wife to go through, so I have to like be like, okay, so no, like it's really important, Rachel. It's gonna help the business. She's like, is it really gonna help the business? No, it is. It's great. Like you're gonna love it.
Oh man, yeah. Eventually, I'm gonna have that same issue as well. Oh, same obstacle. But that's a whole nother story. That's so funny, man. Now gimbals. Do you use them? What do you use?
I love gimbals. So I actually I'm shooting on a glide cam right now. I have a glide cam HD 4000. Like I've had it since like 2011. It's still going strong. Like I've been experimenting with electronic gimbals. I have a Ronin M that I've used. I've been experimenting with the Zhiyun Crane 2. I think that there's oh gosh, dude, there's so many gimbals. Like it's like everybody and their mom is making a gimbal now. Like the Chinese manufacturers caught on that these were popular, and now there's like 15 different companies making them. I'm sure you get emails like this. It's like, please try our gimbal. We will send it to you. And you're like, please no, like I don't have time to test your gimbal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
now
I'm a big fan.
Now, why is it that you decide, and I think I know why, but why is it that you decide to go with the glide cam over like the Ronin M?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Ronin M.
So a lot of it comes down to speed of setup and use.
Yeah.
Like I've talked, it's so funny. I did a review of the Ronin M, and I talked about how like the glide cam, it's set up. I have it set up all day. It's ready to go. Put the camera on it, immediately shooting. With the Ronin, it's like, let me balance it. Let me turn it on. Let me make sure it's working. And then with weddings, you're moving from location to location. Okay, I'm at the hotel where they're getting ready. Now I'm at the ceremony. Now I'm at the reception venue. And every single time, you either need to tear down the entire Ronin to bring it, or you can use the technique that I have received like 50 comments about. People like, oh man, I just strapped mine into my seatbelt like it's a child. Like it's like the baby car seat Ronin setup.
That's probably my route as well.
So like people send me photos of it. They're like, yeah, the stand is like in the cart, like in the seat, and then they have like the seatbelt over the Ronin. And I'm like, this is really a thing. Like you people are really like, it's fine, it's safe. So like it's totally an option if you want to do that. Like I know people that do that, but like for me personally, setup time is very important to me, speed of shooting. And also I feel like gimbals, they've gotten a lot better in terms of like the smoothness that you're able to get with them. But what I mean is like with a glide cam, it's quite organic in the sense that you press it starts moving, it's going to continue moving because gravity is working. Whereas with a gimbal, sometimes you can really tell, like if somebody has their gimbal tuned too sensitively, you can tell they turn a little bit. It's like, you know, and it's like this robotic feel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, I definitely see that for sure. The speed of use also, and I think Parker Walbeck, which I will be having on the show soon.
Yeah, you will. That's awesome.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, he agreed to be on it. We got to put that together. He actually made a video on his glide cam and whatnot, and how if you get tired, you know, you can just use it and just start shooting handheld with it. Leave it right on your glide cam and just let that thing rest on your belt, and you can start shooting handheld with your camera, which I've done all the time, which I love the glide cam. I really do. You do get tired, but you also get tired with any gimbal as well.
They make those easy rig setups where you got the vest and you got the fish hook coming over and then it holds the Ronin, you know?
Yeah, like, that's awesome. But when you're running around in a wedding, that's not
like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you?
You're gonna be getting more attention than the bride, and she's not gonna like that. So
I have one of those glide cam forearm braces, you know, so I don't have like the full vest for the glide cam, but I have one of those. It just goes over the arm and it has like the metal bar, so it actually like transfers the weight from your wrist to your shoulder whenever you're carrying it. I bring that to weddings, like especially if it's like a longer reception. Sometimes I'll use that, but like you feel cool. You're like, oh man, I'm like a robot now. I guarantee, like, so you think you're cool, but then you have like 3 wedding guests come up to you and they're like, "Did you break your arm? Is it okay?"
Oh,
like,
nice.
Not a cast, to be clear. I'm just working. Do not mind me.
You should write it on there. This is not a cast.
I know, right? And be like, do not mind me. It's fine. So like, anytime you think that you're cool at a wedding, you're like doing something, like, oh man, I'm about to get my roast up. And you're like, that guy's weird. Is he okay? Like, you're like, dang it. Like, yeah, I'm a professional. Leave me alone. Man.
Oh man. Do you still use your FS5 for weddings?
So it's really funny. I can tell how far people have like watched my video reviews and all. I could tell with the GH5 how far they watched the review because they were like, man, Matt loves a GH5. I'm going to buy it until the end, like about 40 minutes in when I'm like, the low light sucks. Don't buy this camera. So like literally the comments are either like, I love it. Matt loves it. And I'm like, you haven't got to that part of the review yet. And with the FS5 review, I talked about all the pros and cons of the camera and why I liked it. But at the end, I'm like, I'm going to return it to B&H. So I actually only had it for about 2 weeks. And then I shipped it back. Yeah. Because for me, the size of the A7S II, like this, versus like, oh, I got a whole kitted out FS5. Like for corporate stuff, great. FS5 is fantastic. I would totally consider buying that, or honestly, an FS7 at that point. Yeah. Otherwise, like A7S II is going to be significantly better for weddings, in my opinion. So that's why I'm not shooting on the FS5 anymore.
No, of course, and I haven't even used it for any weddings at all. I can't see. It's funny because I started, you know, and yeah, I'm guilty. I don't think I watched your entire video all the way through. But even that, like, I knew that the GH5, I love the camera and I recommend it to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it does not work for me. It's not for me because I know that the way that I shoot, for sure, I usually find myself in situations where I have to rely on ambient light. I have to rely on the space that I have, and the FS5 with the GH5 with the super micro four thirds sensor just does not cut it for me. And I already knew that off the bat. I just like to see other people's opinions and to see what they shoot with it.
You just want me to validate your choice. Like, I made the right choice, right? I'm not screwing up here. Okay, good. Okay, good.
No, you're fine. I'm pretty. I was pretty already set on that. Like, I love it, and I hate that, you know, I cannot justify buying it. I really can't. You know, not for my work. If I buy it, it would be just for other stuff, you know. But I mean, I have my FS5 and I'm very happy with that. And for the higher quality, you're right. The FS7 would be a nicer purchase, but I like to get that external raw, you know, which would require that extension piece on the FS7, which was that's the biggest reason why I went with the FS5.
Yeah.
Because I don't require that extension unit and the V-Lock batteries. Into the Odyssey. So I just use it directly with the Odyssey all the time. And
that's good.
That's usually what works out for me. But yeah, but no, I actually didn't know. I didn't get to that part. I watched pretty much the whole thing. I guess I missed that part, you know, where you had returned it.
Don't sweat it. It's okay. So yeah, like basically, I think it's a fantastic camera for corporate shoots. Like anything where you can have enough of a crew where you're like, okay, there's a bigger rigged camera. I need to have like everything built out. But for weddings, I like the smaller and more mobile that you can be, the better it's going to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I don't know why I woke up the day of my friend's wedding. This is like 3 weeks ago. I woke up the day of the wedding and I said, I think I want to shoot ProRes today. And I was literally considering taking the FS5 with the Odyssey and moving around with that thing.
So great. What? No.
And I was so thankful that I did not do that, because that would have just been a really bad day for me.
I say this all with the context of having been someone that has had a friend bring along a Red Dragon to shoot a wedding with me.
Oh,
okay,
man.
like great camera, but in terms of low light, that camera's not like, you got to light that thing.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you're so like, we were having shots. I'm like, man, this looks noisy. Okay, so like, I'm compensating, but the other issue is more so like that. He's like, well, the camera's got to heat up. Like, I'm like, is it ready to shoot? He's like, no, it needs 20 minutes to warm up the sensor. I was like, okay, I guess we'll just film other things while we wait on the camera to warm up. Dang it. But hey, we shot part of the ceremony in 6K. We were up in this church balcony, like a quarter mile away, it felt. And so he's like, hold on, let me just zoom in. And then it was like, zoom in. And then I'm like zooming in post, like 6K. Okay, like just, oh, good. There's the groom's face, just his face in the shot, like from so far off, because the 6K is so good. So, dude, it's a cool camera, but man, you got to light for it.
And I have a lot of experience with the Red Dragon shooting 6K all the time. Yeah, it's definitely, you need light. It's a production camera. It's a production
not built for weddings.
It's meant, yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. What do you think about the Canon 1DX Mark II?
I think
have you considered it, or
I left Canon in 2012 with no real intention of going back. And so far I've been holding to that because I feel like Canon, if you have the money for like a C300 Mark II, sure, get it. 4K, you're going to get fantastic color and quality. It's going to look great. But like otherwise, like even with the 1DX Mark II, you can see where Canon made so many compromises with that camera. Like, yeah, it's 4K, but there's a 1.3x crop. And oh yeah, it's 4K, but the file size is like 400 megabit or 800 megabit, and it's like using the photo JPEG codec, which is like, I don't know, it annoys me because I'll watch people on YouTube that are like, oh man, I love this camera, the bitrate's so high, and it's like, that doesn't need to be so high. Like the bitrate is equivalent to like the 100 megabits per second Sony bitrate, but your file sizes are quadruple that or bigger.
Yeah.
So I remember Ray Roman had posted that he shoots on the 1DX Mark IIs.
Yeah, that's right.
He was saying how he's like, oh yeah, we shot like 1.2 terabytes this wedding, and I'm like,
damn,
what? Like, I'm sure it looks great, Ray. I'm sure it looks great, but man, like, you got the thing shoots CFast cards. Like, okay, well, hold on, I need like my $5,000 worth of memory cards just to be able to shoot this like thing with it. You know, which, like, it's. I feel like Canon's making so many compromises with their cameras to keep you on that cinema line.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of that indie filmmaking. A lot of like the indie, like, oh, I have $2,000 to spend. Why would you buy a 1DX for $6,000 whenever you could buy 3 GH5s or 2 A7S2s?
Yep, that's a really good point. Actually, Ray Roman actually is going to be on the podcast.
You're getting everybody on this podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, I'm making connections here. I'm trying to get everybody that has something to add to the industry, man. I think it's great. You
emailed me. You're like, Joe Simon is on. I'm like, oh, Joe Simon. Well, tell me. You know, you're like, oh, Ray Roman's on. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Like, okay, this is pretty cool here. Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, you're among good company, dude.
Yes.
So, well, I was gonna talk about another camera. What was it? All right. So yeah. Adding to what you just said about Canon, I feel like that's what they did with the C200, man. That camera there's so much to love, but then so much to hate as well. And that camera has that camera is like definitely a love-hate relationship, because at this point I had mentioned to you, like, I love color. I love having my color options. I cannot shoot raw. I love shooting ProRes. I cannot shoot raw with my FS5 on the Odyssey. I can, but it's for 256 gigabytes. Each one of these cards right here, this is a card for my for the Odyssey, 256 gigabytes. Do you know how many minutes of footage that translates to?
Not a lot.
When I'm
not
shooting
a lot.
raw?
Not a lot at all. It's
12 minutes. 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them. That's 24 minutes of recording that I'm able to do at any given time. That's half a gigabyte. I mean, half a terabyte. That is insane. Insane. And so and I've seen the footage. It looks gorgeous. I would love to shoot like that all the time. There's no way. There's no way. So I have to stick to ProRes. So anyways, I want the raw, you know, and that's why I'm like, it's like me looking, I'm heading in this direction. I'm with Sony, but then I keep looking to the side over there and seeing the sexy C200 with the raw, you know, and I'm looking at it like, man, even if it's just for the raw, maybe I'll get it, right? Yeah. But then what if, and I love Canon colors. Canon colors are gorgeous already. Like their color science is really nice. So I'm trying to see, should I get it just for the raw? And then I'm trying to see if I compromise. Then I just keep going back and forth, and it's just ridiculous. It's like
tough because it's such like a specialized camera, the C200. I feel like Canon very intentionally gimped some of the features of it, so that way it's like, well, no, it shoots raw, and it's like, so it's better than the C300, and they're like, well, but it has like a really gimped MP4 codec if you don't want to shoot raw, so it's actually the quality of like a C100 or less. So
I know
it's like, dude, it already shoots raw. I know it can do the same stuff as a C300. So like, give me this, but it's only like what, $6 or $7 grand. So they don't want to cannibalize their C300 sales.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's so tough. And then the thing with raw though, it all comes back to Red was so smart in that they focused all their attention on how can we compress raw.
Yes.
And make you have a manageable file size, even at like 10:1 compression that still looks good.
Yeah.
And with all the like their demosaicing stuff that they have like patented the snot out of. So nobody else can do it. And so like I remember it was like the Black Magic came out and it was like, oh man, this thing shoots raw. This is insane. It's like, yeah. Also it's like you were saying 12 minutes for like 256 gigs basically. And then on top of that, they finally came out like, oh no, we have a compressed raw format, and it cuts it like in half. But even then, you're like, it's still massive. What are you guys doing? Like,
I know.
Red's got it.
Yeah, man. Red did it perfectly, man. Red is just awesome. But again, you just need good lighting for that as well. Even that, I cannot justify a purchase like that either. I think I'm in my comfort zone right now. I think I'm just gonna focus on just upping my lens game, getting that sharper. You'd be so surprised. Well, maybe not you, but a lot of people would be so surprised that what a big difference the image quality makes with the right lens. Like man. So I think I'm gonna be upgrading that, you know, more besides the A7S Mark III when it comes out. I think I heard it comes out sometime in February.
It's I have not seen any specific times, but
okay. I think it's like a Sony rumors type deal.
All I can say is look at history. And Sony came out with, most notably to me, Sony came out with the A7R2 in August 2015. And then only 1 month later, in September, they released the A7S2. And people were pissed because they were like, I haven't even had a chance to enjoy my camera. And now there's already a new one. Like, what?
Right.
It's like, they're so specialized that it doesn't really matter when they release them. But like, that makes me think that Sony could literally release this camera like anytime. Like, I don't think it'll be before Christmas just because like the holiday rush and all. Like, I think they're okay with missing that. But I would expect it before maybe in April.
Which doesn't make sense. You would think that because the holidays are coming, they would make so many sales.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
obviously there's something there.
Higher end DSLRs, like once you get to full frame A7R3, A7S2, or A7S3, like Canon 5Ds, for example, like these are all like $3,000 purchases, $4,000 purchases, even like at that point, that's not really a Christmas present. Like your mom isn't gonna go out like unless you got like really baller mom. She's not gonna be like, I love you, sweetie. I bought you this full frame camera. Like, how much did you spend on this, mom? Like, what the heck? You know, so like it's more so like a professional purchase that I feel like professionals are gonna purchase
Well,
anytime.
that would be my Christmas gift to my son. As late as it comes. Like,
That's a personal Christmas gift. That can be a Valentine's gift in February.
There,
you know?
I love myself.
I love myself. I'm gonna buy this camera. Like you're like, what is this holiday? Martin Luther King Day? Yeah, okay, great. I'm buying a camera to celebrate. Like, dude, this
here you
is
go,
not
Christopher Columbus.
This is not a holiday to purchase a camera. There's no celebration. It's fine. I got it. Like, okay,
it's New Year's. I need one. It's a camera every year.
Any celebration. You are literally saying things that I say to my wife to justify like camera purchase. Like, no, it's great. It's for Hanukkah. She's like, what? We don't celebrate Hanukkah. Well, I'm just saying, like, we could.
I support Jews.
Like, it's great. Like, I support like B&H. They are
great. I actually just found that out. Actually, I was wondering, why are you guys always closed?
I absolutely love B&H. I shop there all the time, and like having shot some Jewish weddings, I completely understand where they're coming from with the holidays and the traditions and the reasons that they're closed.
Yeah,
I have had to go to Amazon to compensate though. Whatever, like, oh, B&H is closed right now. Okay, well,
I got to be honest though. Every time I see something that I already want to buy and I make the decision to pull that trigger, I'll go to Amazon I mean, I take advantage of my Prime membership. I could have it in 2 days. You know what I mean?
Makes a big difference. Really big difference.
Huge difference. Do you do that too? Do you have a Prime membership? And
oh, definitely. I have it's like I spend it's to the point where Rachel will be like, "What'd you order on Amazon?" I'm like, "I don't know. Yeah. It came though. It's here."
Yes, I get packages and I'm like, "Wait, what did I order this time? I don't remember." That happens all the time.
It's like Christmas. You're like, "What did I get? I don't know. I know I ordered this at some point." Oh crap!
Yes, that is so true, man. That's actually a huge reason why I had to move out of my parents' house. We got so much stuff. I had crap all over the place, so I had to get my own place already. And put my crap here.
Exactly.
I had to get a whole room just for that stuff, but still, yeah, I order so much. I just forget what's coming in.
Yep.
But it is what it is, man. It's always fun though. It's great that I remember. I always appreciate it. It's great that at one point you would think back to all the stuff that you wish you had, but the stuff you're getting now, it's always good to sit back and appreciate.
Yeah.
Where we are, man.
Totally.
But anyways, dude, we've been at it for a while. I could talk tech and camera and videography all day long.
It's so dangerous. Oh my gosh, me too.
Oh my gosh. No, don't blame it on me if you go and buy something else right now. Tell your wife it's not my fault.
Right.
So if people want to find you, where can they go?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I have a wedding film company website, filmstrong.com. All my videos though that I post, because I post a ton of educational stuff for wedding filmmakers, etc. That is all goes on my website, whoismatt.com. So I also, and like my YouTube channel is youtube.com/whoismatt. If you search whoismatt anywhere, I pop up anywhere except for Twitter, because there's some other guy who has the whoismatt handle. So
really, okay.
Yeah, he curses a ton too. So like if you start following him and you're like, wait a second, this doesn't sound like Matt, probably because it's not me. Otherwise, I've got a video that you interrupted my editing time with your podcast. Dang it! No,
dang.
Okay, I have a video that I'm coming out. It's a little different. It's travel. It's like Iceland travel tips for filmmakers and photographers. Because
nice.
We went there earlier this year. It's such a Iceland is so popular right now. Everybody wants to go to Iceland, I feel. And
it is gorgeous. It looks beautiful.
I absolutely loved it. So I was like, okay, what are things that I've learned now that I've been there that I can share with people? So it's not a camera review or anything like that, but it's just like something that I'm passionate about, that I feel like if I had known these things before I went to Iceland, I would have had a much better time on my travel. So yeah.
That's awesome. And what did you shoot that with?
That's all. Oh yeah, that's all. Like everything I shoot on is pretty much the A7S II now. And It works really, really well for me. So yeah, all the vlogs, everything, it's all on that pretty much for now.
And you're vlogging on your YouTube channel and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool, man. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and cut this. Thank you guys for listening live, for those of you that joined us, and we will see you guys later.
Yes.